time for some homework. We're going to keep the assignments for this lesson really simple, but they're going to set us up to succeed in the later classes. Your first assignment is to make a plan for when and where and how you are going to work on this class. When are you going to watch the videos? When are you going to do the assignments? When are you going to go into the Discord and discuss the assignments and the questions with the other students? Are you the kind of person that's going to need a reminder? I know that I am. I need calendar alerts and reminders in my phone so that I don't forget the things that I'm working on. You know what you need, you know what your schedule is, so make a plan for when and where and what you need in order to remember to do this class and set it up. One of the things that is most helpful for me is having accountability partners, people who are also working on stuff, and so I feel some kind of obligation to check in with them and see what they're working on and tell them what I'm working on, and Discord is a great place for that. That's part of why I've set this class up the way that I have instead of using some other kind of online class host, is I wanted a Discord, some way for the people taking the class to connect with each other. Please take advantage of that. Second thing is supplies. Part of what I love about teaching drawing is that it is so accessible. The materials are cheap and found easily. When I've taught this class in person, all I had the students acquire themselves was pencils and a sketchbook, and I provided everything else. In this class, of course, I'm not going to be able to provide all of the other supplies, but I'm going to give you advance notice of when you're going to need something more than just a pencil and sketchbook. Listed here are the basics, the most important things that we'll need. This isn't everything. There are some future assignments and exercises that we'll do that will need other materials, but this is just enough to get you started. And as I said, I will try to give advance notice so that if we need a specific thing for a future exercise, you will have some time to locate it. So specifically for our next class, the next assignment we're going to do, in addition to your basic drawing materials of sketchbook and pencil, we are going to need a shoe or something of a similar size and level of complexity, and a piece of wire that can hold its shape that's only maybe about 10 inches long. A shoe, I assume, will be easy. Let me give a little bit more detail on the wire. When I teach in person, I just bring wire for everybody, but of course that's not going to work here. What's important is just that it will hold its shape when you bend it, and that it's not too hard to bend with your fingers. Doesn't have to be too long. 10-ish inches is kind of a good ballpark, but that's all that it needs to be. Hopefully you have some wire that's just laying around your house that you can use, but I'm saying this now so that you have a few weeks till we do the next lesson to be able to locate some if it's not something that you already have on hand. Last but far from least, our very first exercise is going to help us to establish where you are now in your artistic skills. I very intentionally don't give any kind of real drawing instruction before having people do this assignment because it is really useful to see what your drawings look like before I have told you anything. So this first exercise is just to do 3 drawings before watching any other material for this class. You can draw what you want. I suggest that you do 1 self-portrait, 1 hand, and then just an object of your choice. If you really hate those ideas, you don't have to, but those are really useful benchmarks so that when we return to the same subject matter in the future, you will be able to see your progress. Also, self-portraits are easy just because you are available to draw and you have a hand that's not drawing, so I suggest trying to spend at least about 20 minutes on each drawing. If you're done much more quickly than that, that's fine. We're going to be learning to have the patience to sit and look at something for that long as part of this class, but that's something to aim for. Once you've done these 3 drawings, I suggest you sign and date them and then put them away. So if you've done them in a sketchbook that you're planning to use for the rest of this class, you could just put like a paper clip so that you don't keep opening and seeing them. Or if they're on loose paper, you could put it in a folder somewhere that you'll remember, that they won't get lost. It's helpful to not look at these for a while and then to be able to get them out to see your progress. I personally have found it really useful and instructional to be able to return to the same subject matter over time to see how both my skill and style have developed. Here is an example of subject matter that I have returned to repeatedly over years, which is Rapunzel pulling her hair behind her in a wagon. This is something that started appearing in my sketchbooks when I was in high school. Later in college, I did a painted version of it for one of my painting classes. A few years later, when I was experimenting with digital mediums, I did a new version of it digitally. And again, a few years later, when I was feeling more confident in my digital art skills, I returned to it again. A few years ago, I did a new version of it and printed it and carved it out as a lino cut. And then finally, a couple of years ago, I expanded on this concept of Rapunzel pulling her hair behind her in a wagon, and I made it into a short comic where one of the panels was Rapunzel pulling her hair in a wagon, but surrounding it was a fuller story of what Rapunzel was doing. So while this isn't the exact same thing as these drawings that I'm asking you to do, I'm hoping that you can see how useful it is to be able to return to the same subject matter over time as your skills develop to be able to see where you've improved. And that is it for our first assignment. I'm trying to keep it really simple to start with. So just make a plan for how you're going to complete this class, locate some basic materials, and do your 3 pre-instruction drawings. And make sure to check in the Discord so that we can keep up with each other's progress. Happy drawing!